My paper today is on identifying the potential adopters of agricultural innovations. So there's 4 key messages I'd like to leave you with today. The first is that the adoption of many agricultural innovations has not met expectations of either the investors, the researchers or extension staff. Second, that as a consequence, a method's been needed to accurately predict, or more accurately predict, the number of potential adopters of agricultural innovations. We've developed such a method, and we believe it can be used for all kinds of agricultural innovations. Third, the method has shown that people did and still do have unrealistic expectations about the number of producers that will adopt an innovation. The number of potential adopters is generally much smaller than people think. It's a fraction of the producers in a region or in an industry. So what this actually means is that extension has generally been much more successful than we ever thought it was. Finally, the results of the method can be used to help in setting priorities for policy as well as research and extension. So what do I mean by potential adopters? Going back to David's talk, they're the people for whom an innovation offers a relative advantage. Basically, they are the producers for whom an innovation offers a potential net benefit. The more precise definition we use is the potential adopters of an innovation are those producers for whom the innovation has the potential to assist them to better meet their utilitarian, social and hedonistic goals as managers of agricultural enterprises. These 3 kinds of goals, from a psychological perspective, drive all our behaviour. Utilitarian goals are functional goals like saving time, making money, using less water. Social goals are expressive of self-identity. They are things like demonstrating independence, being community-minded, appearing competent. Hedonistic goals are experiential, like enjoying farming as an activity or getting a sense of achievement. Identifying potential adopters requires knowing how an innovation creates benefits for producers. The method we've developed for discovering this is based on 2 concepts. The first is a psychological concept called involvement, and the second is a concept that comes from farm systems theory, which is farm context. So what is involvement? It is a psychological measure of motivation that captures how important something is to us and therefore how much time and effort we will put into making decisions about it. The fellow in orange in this picture, so not the guy reading the newspaper, exemplifies for me high involvement. Okay. It looks like he's pretty passionate about crocheting. That is, he's highly involved in the activity of crocheting and what it means. Our thesis is that farming is highly involving for farmers. This is because it's central to their achievement of their utilitarian, social and hedonic goals, like making money, expressing their independence and competency, and experiencing a sense of achievement and mastery. Logically, that means then that the adoption of innovations is a highly involving decision, because those decisions will have consequences for the achievement of their goals, the more so because those decisions are necessarily novel and have consequences that are difficult to predict. So, our method. We identify potential adopters of innovations using a 2-stage process that centres around interviewing producers about their adoption decisions. The first stage is a series of face-to-face interviews with producers. We try to interview producers that have adopted the innovation, producers that have not adopted the innovation, and if we can find them, producers that have tried and abandoned the innovation. So, some implications from all of this. For research, the population of potential adopters is nearly always overestimated. We have tended to assume it's all the people in a region or an industry, that they should adopt the innovation. We have found in our work that this is rarely, if ever, the case that the potential population of adopters is equal to the actual population. The number of potential adopters is a fraction, sometimes surprisingly small, of the producers in an industry or region. Second, classifying producers into benefit segments creates opportunities for research to tailor the features of their research products to meet the needs of particular benefit segments. Third, individual producers cannot be expected to fully represent the circumstances and needs of all benefit segments. Because we tend to overestimate the number of potential adopters, we have tended to underestimate the uptake of innovations amongst potential adopters. This means that extension has been more successful than we really thought it was. Knowing the number of potential adopters and the size of benefit segments can help extension staff to interpret the popularity of extension activities. For example, declining attendances may mean the market is approaching saturation, extension's been successful, and everyone that's likely to adopt has adopted. The program should therefore be wound down. It could mean a benefit segment is approaching saturation and the program needs revision to appeal to other benefit segments. Or it could mean that external changes have changed the farm context and therefore the population of potential adopters of an innovation, and the program may need to be redirected. Extension very rarely alters the number of potential adopters. Other policy instruments such as regulation, cap and trade markets and infrastructure projects change the population of potential adopters. Finally, the concept of involvement and farm context could be used to predict producers' responses to these other kinds of policy instruments.
Thanks very much.